A very pleasant good evening to you all. This is Manohar signing from Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Francis Xavier Engineering College. On behalf of Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Francis Xavier Engineering College, I welcome you all to this webinar on robotic process automation. The resource person for today's webinar is Engineer John George, who is currently working as Delivery Manager, RPA COE Volvo Group. The coordinators for this program is Professor J.A. Jevin, Professor M.A.Y. Peer Mohammed Appa, and Dr. E. Manohar. The conveners for this program is Professor P. Brinda, who is working as Head of the Department Computer Science and Engineering, Francis Xavier Engineering College, Mr. S. Krishna Kumar, who is working as Director Alumni, Francis Xavier Engineering College, and Dr. V. Vel Murugan, who is the Principal of Francis Xavier Engineering College. I once again welcome you all to this webinar. Now I call upon Professor J.A. Jevin to deliver the welcome address. Over to Professor Jevin.
Good evening everyone. Welcome you all for this webinar on robotic process and automation. First of all, I thank Lord Almighty for this happening of this webinar. I welcome our chairman Dr. S. Vitas Babu for being a backbone for these webinars in our college. I wish to welcome our General Manager Development, Dr. Jay Kumar, for his continuous support. I welcome our Principal, Dr. Vel Murugan sir, for his guidance. I welcome our Alumni Director, Mr. Krishna Kumar sir, for his initiative for this type of alumni interaction programs. I welcome Professor Brinda Madam, our HOD, CSE, for her initiative in arranging these webinars from our batch. I welcome our resource person, Engineer John George, Delivery Manager from Volvo Group, Bangalore, for sparing his valuable time and for giving his suggestions about his experience in robotic process automation. Now I request Professor Dr. Manohar sir from Department of Computer Science and Engineering for giving a brief introduction about our resource person. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor J.A. Jevin. So now I am happy to introduce my friend, Engineer John George. Engineer John George is currently working as a Delivery Manager for RPA Center of Excellence at Volvo Group India. Volvo Group is a leading truck manufacturing organization headquarters at Sweden, where George has totally 16 plus years of experience in IT, out of which 7 plus years at Volvo Group in various leadership roles. He is also a certified Scrum product owner, certified Scrum Master, and also a certified UiPath RPA developer. He worked predominantly in automobile, aviation, diagnostics and healthcare domains. He is currently living at Bangalore. He completed engineering from Francis Xavier Engineering College, Tirunelveli, where he is the part of first batch alumni of Francis Xavier Engineering College. I am very proud to introduce my friend Engineer John George, who is an eminent personality, who is the resource person of today's webinar. I am happy and I am proud to introduce him. Now I would like to call upon Engineer John George, who is the Delivery Manager of RPA CEO Volvo Group, for the webinar on robotic process automation. Over to John George.
Much obliged. Thank you for the nice introduction. As mentioned, my name is John George. I will be taking you through this webinar on robotic process automation today. Welcome everybody. So let's look at the agenda for today. So in the next 1 hour, I will be taking you through overview of RPA, mainly looking at what is RPA and what is the current situation. We will also look at why do we need RPA, what are the different levels at which automation happens. We will also talk about what is the development life cycle for RPA, what are the different types of bots, what are the security aspects when it comes to RPA. We will also see a demo of one of the RPA tools. We will also discuss about what are the different use cases when it comes to RPA. We will also talk about what are the different aspects when it comes to the future of RPA. So let's get started. So before we actually get into the topic of RPA, I wanted to touch upon the industrial revolution, because it is in a way for me good to connect the manufacturing industry and the IT industry together, so that we look at how we are supporting each other. When we look at industrial revolution, there are 4 main revolutions that happened. The first industrial revolution, which was mainly with the help of water and steam power, the first mechanical production facility which came in. This was in 1784, right? And then the second industrial revolution happened with the help of electrical energy. The first slaughterhouse that was available in Cincinnati in the year 1870. Then the third industrial revolution came in, wherein we actually started using electronic and IT systems for automatic production. And here we can see the first programmable logic controllers were available. Mainly 1969 we had the first production happening. And the fourth industrial revolution, which we commonly call as Industry 4.0, this is when we started having the use of cyber physical systems. So what do we mean by cyber physical systems? So here mechanical arms, it could be computer systems, it could be automatic lines. All these components need to work seamlessly. So here I have mentioned only very few, but the complexity at which production happens, it's at much larger scale. So this is how the industry is moving forward when it comes to manufacturing. And let's look at how the IT has evolved over a period of time. So the first time internet was made available to public in 1990, and over the years you can see what are the different advancements that we have achieved in the sector of IT. And today in 2020 we are talking about artificial intelligence, blockchain, 5G. We are already discussing about autonomous vehicles, supply chain, then the cognitive and intelligent capability. We are already speaking about quantum computing, the whatnot, right? So it's at a very high pace where we are progressing when it comes to IT as well. So with all this, what you can also notice is that traditionally we were looking at, if you see, a lot of IT work that was getting transferred to sites like India or China or Japan or any of the Asian countries. Now there are a lot of things which are moving into cloud and automation, so which makes it even possible to have it at the base location itself. So which means like these automations can work from the same place where the customers are located. So let's look at what is the current situation when it comes to IT industry. So as we all know, the industry and the world is currently stuck with COVID-19. This is in fact a stress testing for different organizations to see how their business continuity plans work. Of course, all organizations have some or other BCP plans, but this is when we really test like how it is working. A lot of surprises which was thrown to different industries. Some of them have really struggled, some of them are still struggling. So what we can see is the importance of automation has significantly amplified in this crisis. And if we look at the different organizations, so a lot of them are at different maturity level, and almost everybody has started talking about digitization. So how they can have more automations, how they can move from papers to electronic formats, how they can have integrated ecosystems. So how do we build a connected business ecosystem by enhancing the customer, employee, supplier and partner touchpoints? So this has become more and more critical with the current scenario. Now let's look at what is RPA. So in the industry there are a lot of users. So RPA is mainly looking at the business users who are the actual users of applications. So where they perform different kind of transactions. So it could be like a bank employee who is doing a lot of activities on their IT applications. It could be a hospital or it could be airline ticket booking system or anything of that sort, right? So in these cases, every day they are doing a lot of repetitive tasks which they keep repeating on a daily basis. It's time consuming. They have to navigate from different applications. They have a lot of copy pasting activities involved. So in these cases, what we are looking at is to have some kind of assistant to do these repetitive tasks, so that these human beings can spend their time for more value added tasks. So most of the cases we see, like when it comes to RPA, we see there are bots sitting, and then as you see here in the picture, there are some tasks happening. So are there physical bots which are sitting and doing work of a human being? So here I would like to say that there are no physical bots as such. It is more of a software bot which is actually installed on the laptops, and then it can mimic human user actions just like how a human will do. And key feature of these tools are like these are very low code tools, so which means you don't have to write hundreds of lines of code to achieve some automation. I will speak more in detail about how it works. And RPA works the same way like how a user will log in into an application using a user ID, password, and then exactly the same way how a human user will work. And here the key advantage is it can work seamlessly across multiple applications. So it is not restricted that the automation has to be on one application. So as you can see, if you look at any users in a hospital or airline or a bank, anything like that, they will be working on multiple systems. So these tools are capable of automating across multiple systems. Let's look at why RPA is required, and then different advantages that we see here on this slide. The first and most important thing here is the customers today are more demanding. They need everything to be happening at a much faster pace. They do not have the patience to wait for certain activities to happen maybe for days or weeks, and then they are looking at things to happen right now. So how do we make sure that these repetitive tasks which takes time can be reduced? So this is wherein RPA comes into place. So wherein we put bots which can work 24/7, and then there is no restriction like as a human user wherein we come in at 9 o'clock and leave at 6 o'clock, something like that. Bots can work continuously, as all of you know. So the efficiency at which the task can be performed increases at a very drastic scale. And these are low risk non-invasive technologies. So what do I mean by non-invasive technologies? today if I have to put RPA on top of applications, there are no need for changing anything on your existing application. So there are no code changes, there is no change for the UI, anything of that sort which is required to have a RPA automation on top of your application. The key area, as we discussed before, is to eliminate repetitive work. We are also looking at how we can enable rapid return on investment. So definitely to create a bot you have to put some kind of investment, right? So it could be the development effort, the time taken to create a bot, and then it is also towards the license cost, the infrastructure cost and things like that. But then definitely what you can see here is that since this bot are capable of running multiple transactions at a much faster pace, and also, as I mentioned, 24/7, the return of investment is at a much higher value. Then we can also look at the process improvement. So existing process, for example, in one office you have 10 employees, and then each of those employees are maintaining different Excel sheets. The weekend consolidate all this information and then have to send it to the head office. So in case if you are putting an RPA in place of these employees to perform this transaction, so what typically happens is, as part of process improvement, we will have one consolidated sheet maintained, and this RPA bot will be entering the data in that consolidated sheet instead of having 5 different Excel sheets and consolidating at the end of the week. Another key capability here is analytics and insights. So today if you look at 5 different employees who are performing different transactions, if you have to put an IT application to do the same thing which they are doing, you need to check with each of them to understand where they are spending more time, what exactly are they working on, what are the manual tasks, how much time it takes for each activity. So that level of information is very difficult to consolidate and understand from different people. But when it comes to RPA, if there is a bot doing different transactions, you can easily look at the logs and find out where exactly the bot is taking more time. On a daily basis, how many transactions are happening, where exactly the volumes are increasing. Those kind of insights you can get from these bot logs. Then increased audit compliance. So this is mainly to look at finance critical applications, because most of these organizations are audited by external organizations, so like Deloitte or any of those kind of companies where they send auditors. They have to check different aspects of your application, what kind of data, and then they give an audit report. So in that perspective, again, it is very much required to have some kind of formal tool in place for these kind of financial critical automations. Then comes the aspect of accuracy. When a human being is actually performing a repetitive task, what happens is, over a period of time they lose interest, and then there are chances that they might do some mistakes, right? So every day if you are required to do the same copy pasting or entering the same kind of information, typing, so there are chances that there could be. But when a bot is programmed to perform this task, it happens automatically at the same accuracy at which it is defined to perform. So unless until there are some changes in the application as such, the bots will not have any kind of failure, right? Then so these aspects will make it much more interesting for the employees to work in an organization, because a lot of these repetitive and mundane task which they were doing is taken out, and then they can use that time to do more of customer interaction or more important task. Then other important aspect of RPA is geographical independence, which comes along with this. So if you look at right now, for cost advantages, you see a lot of industries who have customers in US or Europe or different other locations come to different Asia countries for performing their back office transactions, right? So here with the advantage with respect to the bots are you don't need to really have the bots placed at a specific location. You can have the bots co-located along with your business, because it is again a software bot and can sit anywhere irrespective of the location. So this is another possibility. Then scalability is one very important aspect, because specifically for finance related transactions, you see like a month end they will have huge amount of work which they need to do, and during other weeks it might not be that much. So during month end they need to really have many people working extra hours and then complete the task. But how do we achieve this in case of automation? So for RPA bots, they have the capability to be ramped up and ramped down. We can add more licenses, and then during their specific time you can have more bots performing the task, and then other time you can use the bots for some other task. Then definitely increase productivity. So this is one important aspect for any automation which we speak about. The productivity of a bot is 2 or 3 times higher than a human user, because bots, as we all know, like it's not for a 9 to 6 job. They can run continuously 24/7, and we don't have to send bots for vacation or leave, so they can run continuously. So the productivity as such increases. Then comes the security aspect of it. So most of these RPA tools that we are going to speak about in this session are very much security compliant. So a lot of the banks and other critical businesses are using RPA today, mainly because of the security compliance which they have. So let's move on to the next slide. So here I would like to show you a comparison between manual scripted automation and how RPA automation would work. So in the first row here, if you take a look at the standard manual process, right? So here we are mainly looking at a manager trying to give application access for one of his team member, right? So what typically happens is the manager logs a ticket, and then what happens is from the support team they will log in into the application portal. They will navigate for that new employee's username in the list. If the username is already available, then they look at whether he or she is already having access. Then they will reply back telling, yeah, the user has access, and if they do not have access, they will add it and close the ticket, right? So this is how a manual flow will work. You know, different systems that are involved, how much time a person might spend to achieve this particular area. Then let's look at the scripted automation process. So scripting is mainly looking at how we have software itself performing this task, right? So it could be the request coming in an automation queue, and through HTTPS you have access to different APIs to send this request, and then this request is authenticated using user ID and password for the API, and the validation happens. Then in the user defined list they will check if the user is available or not, and then if it's not available they add it, right? So here if you can see, end-to-end is added with the use of software itself, using programs through APIs, and then there is no involvement of human or other systems here. But here the key thing which you can look at is like it takes development effort, right? So in case of split systems, as you can see in the first row here, there are different systems that needs to be integrated, and then there are significant development effort that required to achieve this. Then we look at robotic process automation. So how does robotic process automation work? The request will come to a RPA bot. The RPA bot will log in into the application portal. It will navigate and search through the user list. It can verify whether the user list is available there or not, and then the bot can add the user and update and send it to the manager. So here what you can see is there are no changes that are going to be happening for any of these systems, and there is no human user involved. So the bot is taking care of all the steps exactly how a human user would be doing it. So this is a brief introduction on how a RBA bot would work, right? So now let's look at what are the different processes that I should automate. So as I mentioned, we are mainly looking at a repetitive high volume transaction. So which means like every day you are required to do multiple times some activity. So that's wherein we mainly looking at to involve an RPA bot. Then the second aspect of it is rule-based processes. So here what we say is as part of rule-based is if the process is defined, so which means like can I tell this is exactly how we need to do activity when it comes to a particular process. So for example, airline ticket booking. So here it is defined that if the user is giving destination A and B and his options, so every time I can go and check for this particular option. So the rule is already defined, like how exactly I will do it, the conditions at which you will be doing. So this is another example. Then low exception rate. So if during a process, if you are expecting that there could be different errors that come in or unexpected things that could happen. So for example, in the same airline booking example itself, if you feel that there could be like different pop-ups that will come, unexpected screens, every time I navigate from screen A to Z, it will change, it is not going to be the same. So in those cases it's not a good candidate. But if you feel that every time the screen is going to be same, I am going to get this options at each page, then it is a good candidate for automation, right? Then processes with standard readable electronic input. So what do we mean by this? So there are different cases or different means by which we will get the data from as input. So here what I'm mainly talking about is when it comes to the invoices, right? So invoices, it comes in a PDF and it says like what is the invoice number and different things about. Sometimes you feel that it is handwritten, so there could be some things written on the invoice, there could be a seal, there could be a sign. So then it becomes difficult, right? Even for human users, sometimes the scan, it's not very clear. Now along with RPA, there are other OCR tools available which can even read this kind of information, but specifically with respect to RPA, we are not looking at such kind of documents as input. So we are more looking at structured inputs, wherein like it could be in an Excel sheet, or it could be like coming from other systems, other DBs, where the information is more structured, and then we can easily process it. Then high volumes. So and here what we are looking at is more towards maybe 20 or 30 or 50 transactions that happens in a day, and then every transaction you are spending some 15 minutes to perform it. So you can imagine how much time you have to spend in a day for these kind of repetitive transactions. So it's typically good candidates for automation. Then matured and stable processes. So here mostly the activities in production for business, for example, like any of these applications which we use for flight booking or in hospitals or anything like that, are quite stable. They don't undergo frequent changes. So those ones are typically good candidates for automation. Then we also look at changeable processing methods or system changes. So here what we are mainly talking about is the underlying technical architecture of the system, right? So if you think that there are changes that are expected to the underlying system or the infrastructure itself, then it might not be a good candidate. But if you feel that is quite stable, then it can be taken forward for automation. Then automation savings. When we look at an application, there could be different areas, right? Different functionalities that could be automated. But then what we mainly focus is at least 2 FTEs, which means like 2 employee equivalent effort. If we cannot save, then we typically say like it might not be a good candidate to take it forward for automation. Okay, let's move on to looking at different levels of process automation. So the first one, which is the basic level, where we call it as robotic process automation. So what happens here is this tool is capable of simulating human user actions, as I mentioned, right? So repetitive high volume transactions, the bot can perform exactly same way like a human user will do, and the advantage we have already seen here, right? The next level is intelligent automation. So here what we are mainly looking at is like simulating human judgments. So it can have some kind of machine learning capabilities here, and then it can make some level of judgment based on the training that we give to the system. So for example, if you have 20 different sets of information already passed to the system, it has some kind of understanding like, okay, next time this kind of transaction comes, I should do. So that is intelligent automation. Then comes the cognitive intelligence. So here mainly looking at enhancing human intelligence. So here it's mostly with respect to if we look at mainly on the analyzing the unstructured or non-rule based data. So there are a lot of intelligent OCRs that is available. Specifically, if I have to take example of the document management tools, right, document understanding tools. So here what happens is like using computer vision and other methods, the tool as such is able to make sense of unstructured data. So it can see from the text or handwritten text, okay, this is what is written here, and it can interpret and provide it to the RPA tool, so that this OCR and RPA tools can work together seamlessly. And next one is the artificial intelligence, which can simulate human intelligence. So here based on the intelligent automation training capabilities, the cognitive capabilities all work together seamlessly, and here it can almost work like a human being, right? So making different judgments, and then based on the previous training set of data, and then different cognitive capabilities. Okay, so let's look at hyper intelligent automation. So what do we call this? This is a term which is quite famous now in the industry. So how do we look at intelligent automation, how it happens in the industry? So first step here is the use case discovery. So definitely we need to understand what is the process that needs to be automated. So for that there are different terms coined in. So we call it process mining or task mining, mainly to look at what is that need to be automated. This is a good candidate for automation, so all that analysis happens here. Then we look at the data transformation. So this is mainly on converting the unstructured or semi-structured data. So by unstructured, as I mentioned, like it could be handwritten, or it could be a seal, or anything of that sort. So which has to be converted into a structured format so that it's readable by RPA tools, right? So here there are a lot of intelligent document processing tools, as I mentioned, OCR tools, which is available in the market. So that integrates along with RPA to convert this data. And then process reimagination. So this is mainly to look at if the existing process can be automated as it is, or there are changes that needs to be done in the process itself. There could be different ways in which transaction is performed. For example, in a hospital, a new patient registration. So how does it happen? The process itself is okay, or do I need to make some changes? That analysis happens here. And then the business optimization. So here is where the actual process automation happens. So you decide what type of bot is required, what kind of automation I can do. So all that happens at this phase, right? And then if you look at the lower blocks here, so low code or no code deployment. So here when it comes to RPA, as I mentioned, like the coding part of it is very less. So it is more of if you look at the tool, when I provide the demo as well, you can see like it's very less of coding as such which you will be doing. It's more of a drag and drop of different functionalities that you will do. Then it can also have a human in the loop, which means like in between the bot, if is doing a transaction, you want to validate something, you can have a validation part of it available for the human before it actually completes the transaction. Then we can have some business applications in between the complete process. So like in between you have to validate something or add some data or things like that, and definitely analytics is available for the insight and reporting. So how does a typical RPA implementation lifecycle look like? So first what happens is the opportunity assessment, so wherein you will be looking at what is the identification of the process that needs to be automated. Then we look at documentation. So here is wherein we create the process definition document and the solution definition document, what is the assessment to be. Then the development happens. So here the automation engineers will do development of the automation using RPA tools, and then we move into testing. So different levels at which we do testing, the system testing, user acceptance testing, and then we move once it is verified and validated to be working fine, it is moved into production for the actual use, and then it moves on to the maintenance cycle, right? So how it is working on a day-to-day basis, and then if there is any change that needs to be done and things like that. So this is how a typical RPA implementation life cycle looks like. Then the next slide is on the top RPA tools in market. So this is a analysis from Gartner. They provide this magic quadrant for different areas. So this is something which they have provided in 2019 based on their evaluation. So who are the leaders, who are the challengers, who are the niche players, and who are the visionaries when it comes to different RPA tools. So when you look at the leaders, the topmost you can see it is a tool company called UiPath. Then you have something called Blue Prism, and then you have Automation Anywhere. So three top players in the industry when it comes to RPA. Then moving on, so I will now talk about some details about the tool called UiPath. So UiPath is the name of the organization and also the tool provider which has different components within their RPA stack. So there are different tools available now within the UiPath stack itself, but then very basic things that you should be aware if you have to start working on RPA is these three things. First one is UiPath Studio, where the RPA developers will be doing their development of the RPA automation. Then you have RPA bot. So these are bots that are created which will be sitting on different laptops, desktops or virtual machines and performing this repetitive task, right, just like a human user. So those are these RPA bots. And then you also have something called UiPath the orchestrator. So what is an orchestrator? This is quite important for you to understand. So orchestrator is almost like command center, if I have to put it in a very simple way. So this is where all the bots get deployed to a different machine. So you can specify like each of these bots, it needs to connect with this particular laptop, this particular virtual machine, this particular desktop at this particular time. So you can specify the time at which the bot needs to activate and then start running. And on which machine, as I said. So everything is controlled through orchestrator. You can see the logs, what exactly these bots are doing, is it active or is it stopped, or so those information is also available in orchestrator, and plus some additional features, right? It has a dashboard and things like that for monitoring purpose and things like that. So this is mainly about the three different tools, three different important components, I would say, from UiPath perspective. So I spoke about bots, right? So bots which are going to run or perform human user transactions. So the mainly two types of bots that are available. So one is attended bot and other one is unattended bot. So what is an attended bot? So there are scenarios wherein you need to perform task as and when you need it. So for example, a call center executive, right? So you make a call and then the executive has to actually refer different applications to give you some information back. So what typically happens is like they will ask you, for example, you call Vodafone or Airtel or any of those organizations, you ask for some information, they check in different systems and then they give you the reply back telling, sir, it is like this. But before that, have you noticed that they say, can I place your call on hold? And they put you on hold and then they take some time to retrieve that information for you. But with the use of RPA tools, what happens is they have these different bots that can take input and then they can fetch information on this executive's behalf and give it back to them in few seconds time. So these are typically the attended RPA bots, so mainly for front office transactions or use as and when it is required. So it can be called any time to perform a specific action. And then you have unattended RPA bots. So unattended RPA bots are mainly back office automations, so wherein something has to happen at a scheduled time every day or every week, or it could be every hour, anything of that sort. So it is triggered automatically from the orchestrator, and this bot performs a certain transaction every 1 hour. So this is mainly the use of unattended bots, right? Yeah. So moving on, so how secure is UiPath? Now I spoke about different industries, different areas where RPA can be used. So security becomes a very important aspect because nowadays, there are a lot of cyber crimes that happen, a lot of people hacking into different systems. So how secure are these bots, right, when they are handling these kind of critical business transactions? So when it comes to UiPath, some details which we have captured. So UiPath is Veracode certified, and it is also a FIPS compliant AES 256 algorithm for encrypting the data. So all the sensitive data that we have for a particular application is stored in the orchestrator. For example, for logging into an application, I need the user ID and password, right? So all those credentials bot is storing in the orchestrator. So any point of time, it is in a secured environment. And then UiPath is HIPAA and FIPS compliant. And then additionally, UiPath is also providing integrations to password vaults. So password vaults are mainly external systems specifically designed for storing user IDs, passwords, or those kind of critical information. So it can authenticate the user based on tokens or anything of that sort. Highly secure integrations, right? So UiPath even provides integration to that. And so this is mainly to look at how secure is UiPath. So now you might look at so what are the different industries which are using UiPath. Just to give some example, I'm sure there are many outside, but then just to give you some example here, even NASA and these different organizations which are well known out there are using UiPath. So this is from UiPath's own tech which I have taken here, just to make sure that you all understand that RPA is a well-known technology and well-proven technology in the industry, right? So moving on, now it's time for a short demo. So I will be opening the orchestrator tool here, and then you can see how. Sorry, it's not orchestrator. I will be opening the studio, and then let's look at automating a very simple process, right? So the studio is opening, as you can see here. So as I mentioned, studio is where you do your development. So I will start a new process automation. So I will just say blank process. So now it's initiating. Okay, so this is how the tool looks like. I will just open a workflow. Yeah, so now the studio tool is open here. Here, one main thing which I want to talk about as a differentiator between traditional automation and RPA is that traditional automation you still write scripting, right? Be it Python or PowerShell or any of those kind of automations which you want to do, you will be writing lines of code. But in terms of RPA, what happens is the tool itself is providing lot of functionalities where you can drag and drop, and you more like create a functionality of a workflow. So there will be a workflow defined, and then that workflow is what you actually execute to achieve the automation, right? So there is very less amount of coding that you do here. Of course, it's definitely advantage if you know .NET, so you can have the capability of adding much more functions with respect to different automations. But then, as you can see here, there are a lot of things that are already part of the tool itself. So if you look at traditional automation RPA, the speed at which you can create an RPA is much faster than any traditional automation. So which makes it also very easy for maintenance. Tomorrow something is not working, you can easily come here and see like, okay, this is what I need to change, right? So for today's example, what I will do is I will just create a very simple example in the interest of time. So what I will be doing is I will just open a browser, and then maybe I will search for Francis Xavier Engineering College in Google, and then maybe click on the available links and then reach the website of the college, right? So how do I do it? So first I drag a sequence here. So this is a sequence. So within a sequence you can have multiple activities, right? So what you want to do, so this can all be part of a sequence here. So what do I want to do here? I will want to open a browser first, right? So as you can see here, I have just entered a keyword here. I will just drag and drop here, and it asks me very clearly, like, insert URL here, text must be quoted, right? So here what I will do is I will enter the Google Google URL here. Right, and then this kind of text need to be in double quotes, so I will just make it inside the double quotes. Okay, so what do you want to do? Once the browser is open, you want to set a text inside that, right? So what I will do is I will parallelly open a Google page here. So as you can see here, the Google page is opening. The browser is by default taking it into a different location because of the VPN and things like that, but that is okay. Okay, so next what I want to do is I want to set a text here. So you can see I will drag set text activity inside this. So indicate element inside browser. It is telling me to enter it. Where should I enter it? So I will just select this so that the tool knows this is where I want to enter the text. And then here it says what is that I need to enter. acknowledge. Okay, so this is done. So what happens here? Okay, so here as you can see here, like you have the search results coming. So what I want to do as part of my automation is to click on go, right? So before I will need to click, so I just drag and drop the click activity here. So it will again ask me where to click, so I am indicating this is where you need to click. And then what should happen next? Again in the next window, right, which means after clicking it has to go and click here. So let me go back to the tool. Enter click once again. Here it again asks me to click. Okay, so as you can see here, the automation part of it is done, and I will just close the browser. Let's see how it runs. I just clicked on the run. So now you can see the automation is running. So whatever you see on the screen here is run by the bot now. I am not doing anything. Right. So now we have here Francis Xavier website, as you can see, right? So this is completely done by the bot. So I hope you can see how easy it is to achieve an automation here. It's just drag and drop, unlike the regular coding, and it is very easy to debug. So tomorrow, for example, something has changed, I can directly go here and then say, like, edit selector, and I can easily update whatever changes I have achieved. So it is very easy even for the maintenance aspects. So you can create automations much faster, and the maintenance part of it is also very easy. Okay, so that was mostly on the demo part. So now we will continue with the presentation. So now let's look at what are some of the common technical challenges when it comes to using this tool, UiPath tool. You know that it is very easy to work on different applications. So here we have seen, like, it is mainly working on the browser, but there are CAD tools, 3D drawings and things like that, which is used for engineering, right? And it is mainly image based activities that is on those screen. So in those cases there are challenges when it comes to automation over images as such. So it's mainly designed to work on specific activities, like a button or a drop down, or all those standard controls. So image based drawings could be a little difficult. Then Citrix automations as such is possible with the tool. So this was a limitation for a lot of automation tools when it comes to testing before, but it is possible to achieve Citrix automation through UiPath or any of these RPA tools. And there could be challenges when it comes to non-standard elements, but then mostly what we see is like it is possible. Then another limitation when it comes to RPA is that there are areas wherein you might be expecting multi-threading to happen, which means real time there will be multiple users clicking on some application, and then the response is expected at real time. But that is not possible. RPA can do only one transaction at a time. So it will perform the first request, then it will pick the second request. So it will be queued and then it will work. So if you are expecting 100 users will click at the same time and then all the 100 response comes at the same time, that will not happen. For specifically automating on SAP applications, so here there is something called scripting on SAP, so that needs to be enabled for these RPA tools to work. Otherwise you might not be able to identify different functionalities over SAP. So this is also a common challenge that we have seen. Then sometimes you need to use custom packages along with RPA. So it might be some functionalities which is not in the tool but you want to achieve as part of your end-to-end automation. So in those cases as well, you create custom packages, and then whenever there's a tool version upgrade and things like that, you have to manually add these packages again. It will not be automatically added because it's a custom package which you have created. Then there are challenges with desktop applications where there are non-standard controls. So for example, there could be a tree structure on which you click and then different things open up. There could be different parts of the application where you click and then something expands and things like that. So mainly those kind of non-standard. But all these areas what we have seen is overall with respect to different automations that we have done, these may be maybe 5 to 10% of things that could come. Right, so remaining 90 to 95% almost everything you can achieve using RPA. So there are different other areas, but in interest of time, maybe these are the key areas which I wanted to highlight when it comes to technical challenges. So moving on to different use cases on where all RPA can be used. So as I mentioned, RPA is for automating a repetitive high volume manual transaction. So if a user is doing something on a daily basis, it is repetitive in nature and it is rule based. Every day, if this happens, this is what I'll do, this happens, this is what I'll do. You already have a rule in which you will do every day. Then that is a very good candidate for automation using RPA. And as I mentioned, OCR is another capability wherein large volume of invoices needs to be processed. So there are hundreds of invoices coming from different parts of the globe, and you need to look at what is the data in that invoice, and then you have to enter it in different systems you have to do. So you can integrate RPA with these kind of OCR tools and collect the data and enter it into systems. So traditionally what happens is these invoices comes in courier, or it could be sent over email as a scanned document, and then somebody has to look into this and then enter it manually into different applications. But RPA can release these people, and then the tool has the capability to read using OCR and then enter it into different systems. Then another case is with respect to support ticket. So today if you see banks or any of these organizations where they have mentioned a customer support mail ID, so what happens is you send a mail and over the day they will be getting hundreds of emails, right? And then manually somebody is sitting there and checking one by one and then entering it into internal tool from where their developers might be picking different tasks, right, for the day. And this becomes a very repetitive task, daily looking at email and picking the information and putting it into a tool so that developers can take it from there. What happens if one or two of those emails are missed, right? Because you are daily processing hundreds of mails, it could be a possibility that you miss something. So if a RPA bot is deployed for this task, it can continuously monitor your mailbox, it can look at the email, and then it can pick the information and put it into different systems. So this capability is there with the RPA tool. Then responding to L1 cases, so this is mainly looking at for example what we have seen here, to give access to a new user or remove access, those kind of case. The RPA bot can read the emails and take the action. So it is very much rule based. Like, if there is a new user that needs to be added or things like that, it is defined that you go into this system and do this step and then add the user and give this level of privilege, and then the user has the access. So that is very much possible by the bot. Then data inconsistency updating in multiple applications. So in enterprise organization, what you see is there could be different applications which have been created many years before. So it could be running on old technologies. The complexities within that application over a period of time would have drastically increased. Many developers who have worked on those applications might have left the organization. New people might not know some part of the application. So what happens when new applications are getting introduced in the organization, and where these legacy applications cannot provide an integration? So which means, like, every time there are some transaction that needs to be performed, the engineer will have to open both the application and they have to copy paste information, so that they have the complete information in the new application. So here it becomes again a manual task, every time, because the integration is not possible between these two applications. You have to manually do it, copy pasting activity. So that again can be performed by a bot. So as soon as one transaction is available in the new application, and based on that specific unique ID, it can go to the new application, log in using a user ID and password, and then take the required information and update in the new application. So that is very much possible. Then environment validation. So this is mainly with respect to if you have to do installation of certain applications, there are different configurations that you need to check. So manually a person going and checking, sometimes they might miss it. So specifically if you have to do these deployments and things like that multiple times in a day, there could be chance that the developer might forget that, okay, this particular setting I missed, and then there could be failures. But in case of RPA bots, if it is programmed, then it can specifically perform those transactions every time, because it's already programmed. The chance of having an error there is very less. Then application health checks. So most of these applications, what you can see is like they might have weekly patch installation, upgrades, different things that happen on the application. You will get notifications, right, informing that your this bank application will not be available from this time to this time, as you have the weekly. So how do you make sure that these applications are up and running? Somebody has to log in and see, like, okay, everything is working, they are able to navigate through different features, yeah, everything is working. So what happens if this has to be done on a regular basis? Every Sunday you have these kind of updates, and then you need to actually check it every Monday. So in those cases also RPA bots can be deployed, so wherein the bots will log in at midnight or before the users log in, and log into the home screen. If it is available, then it will say the status as success. If there is a failure, it will drop a mail to the support team telling this particular application is not opening. This becomes even more useful when you have tens and 20s or 30s of applications that needs to be monitored of this sort, right? So that is another example. Then application log analysis is another classic example, because many a times the applications which are running in production, they enter logs, and then only after a failure happens, for root cause analysis, we look into the logs to see what exactly happened, and then how I can make some improvement for next time. So failure has already happened there. But in case of RPA bots, you can configure the bots to daily check the log files in a interval. So maybe it could be every 1 hour or 15 minutes, something like that. So wherein it will log in and check if there is a specific error. For example, if I configure that if there is a fatal error, then we should send alert to the support engineer. So even before the application breaks, even before a failure happens, the support engineer can log in and check what is the problem and fix the issue. So what it ultimately brings is the customer satisfaction, right? There will not be an instance of failure as such, because the bot is informing you in advance before even the application goes down. Then comes another called data cleansing. So here all these scenarios that we see here, it is mainly like how a user will do from the UI of the application, the user interface of the application. Data cleansing also, traditionally what we do is from the database we have certain rules with which, like, we remove duplicates or like invalid data and things like that. That definitely has to happen the same way. But here what we are mainly talking about is from the UI layer. For example, if you see some information is missing and then you have to refer some other applications and then get some data and update it so that this transaction is complete. So that is what we mean by data cleansing here. Then mitigating integration delays. So this is mainly on the first topic which I mentioned here, like where there are legacy applications and they cannot provide integrations to new applications. So RPA can come in as a quick fix in between, because it is very easy to create a RPA bot as you have seen, like in a very small time. So it comes in like a plug and play solution for these kind of integration issues or integration challenges. Then you have something called manual deployment tasks. So this is mainly with respect to deployments that you need to do, different things that you need to make sure that deployment goes successfully. So it could be different validations that you do at the system level or at the software level. So all that can be performed by the RPA bot. So in a typical software development life cycle, I'm sure that all the engineers would be definitely aware like how many times you have to perform this. So all that can be performed by the RPA bot. Then simplify migration solution. This is mainly when you have huge migrations and multiple levels at which you need to do validation on a repetitive basis, right? Like you need to do it on different environments, different times the validation happens. So manually it will take a lot of time and a lot of effort. So it can also have a RPA bot in between so that it's taken care by the bot. Then for project management, for example, like you have information scattered across different systems. So you have the project related task level information in the Jira tool, you have the cost related information in SAP. Every time the project manager wants to see the complete overall where the project is, he needs to look at different systems. So with the RPA bot, what can happen is like we can consolidate the information from both, or even if there are more systems, we can take it together and make it available at one single point, right? So that we the project managers get a holistic view of what is happening. So these are some of the typical IT use cases to help you think where all RPA can be used, right? So moving forward, how we look at evolving into a digital first business, this is more and more becoming a mandate for the organization. So if you look at the legacy businesses, how do they look at the value? So it is mostly connected with the cost reduction, the process efficiencies, the SLA compliances, and then the productivity from the employees as such, right? And what is supporting them to provide this value? There are different levers. So as you can see here, it's a shared services, then the labor arbitrage, then the efficiency that we bring through Lean or Six Sigma, the process efficiencies, then the different tools and wrappers around that, then the manual processes that has been put in as of today, right? And then if we look at digital first business, so what exactly are we looking at now when it comes to value? So it is mainly looking at reimagining the processes. So traditional process we might have to do away with, because a lot of new technologies and a lot of new possibilities that has happened, and then integrating that we might have to re-engineer some of the process. Eliminate manual work as much as possible. Then enhance stakeholder experience. So how wonderful it will be, like if today you go into a bank and you want to open an account, instead of waiting for 2-3 hours, you just give all your documents, they just run a bot, and then your account is opened within 5 minutes. Can you imagine that situation? So that's what we are talking about here, right? So then the focus on business metrics. So more than IT metrics, like what is the metrics as a user, right? And then what are the different levers that will support to achieve this? So RPA is definitely one which will enable. Then different artificial intelligence, machine learning, natural language processing, etc. Then cloud, then IoT, mobility, blockchain. So there are different levers that can support organizations to achieve this, right? Then moving on, how the future looks like for RPA. So how we see is this is the reason why I also touched upon the manufacturing, different industrial revolutions. So we see like IoT, cloud, analytics, blockchain, artificial intelligence, all of them are coming into existence, right? Or I would say it's already there. And then RPA is acting as a catalyst in between. So there could be different independent siloed systems, so which needs to work together. And then how do you make sure that they work together, right? So there should be something in between to help them connect with each other. So RPA comes in between as a catalyst which will help this ecosystem to be built. So this is how we envision in the future. And what it is when it comes to next generation technology levers, right? So these different areas connected together, now we are looking from RPA to hyper automation, right? So typical traditional rule based processes, from there we are looking at integrating RPA along with different artificial intelligence and machine learning capabilities to make it more and more intelligent, so that it can perform much more task at a higher level, is what we call as hyper automation. So just to give an example here, so here you can see the different examples that are given here as well, chatbots and different areas. So one example I can say here is like when RPA bot is monitoring a log file and there is a failure. So traditionally what we do as part of RPA capability is we send an email to the support engineer. So how do we add more capability to the bot? So there are APIs available through which you can make calls to mobile phones. So the bot is capable of giving a call to your mobile number and telling that there is a failure happened in your application, please log in and check this particular log file, right? How wonderful it would be that the support engineer gets this information, so that they don't have to be up all throughout different shifts in the night, thinking that there might be some failure happening and then I need to keep on monitoring. So that is not required. If there is some failure, bot is doing the monitoring all throughout the night and then it can give a call. So that capability of integrating RPA bot along with the call functionality is now possible. Right? So that's what we are talking about when it comes to hyper automation, and this is the future where RPA can integrate with different capabilities, right? So next I wanted to, all of you are engineering students, and then of course there could be others also who have joined who are already in the industry, but then mainly for the engineering students I wanted to say like India is a RPA talent hotspot. So as you can see here, this is the data from 2017 and 18, but this has increased, the numbers have increased, more and more people are aware of RPA and the technology is booming. So if you look at the presence of the competence or the number of people who are available in North America, India is the highest. So it becomes a very big talent pool and lot of demand in this particular area, right? So when it comes to the industry growth prospects also, if you look at year 2019 where we are at 2.3 billion, the CAGR growth ratio that we are looking at is 35 to 40%. That is a huge growth that we are looking at. So by 2024 we should be at 11 billion as per the projection, and then a huge number of investments that we are expecting in this particular area. as we have already discussed in the initial slides also, when it comes to COVID and a lot of other unexpected things that are happening. So the industries are forced to work with less people. And how do you work with less people? Like it is with use of these kind of technologies. It is with automation that you can bring in more efficiency. So gone are those days where you can achieve efficiency just by process improvement or putting some tight SLAs or things like that. Automation is inevitable, and then it is with these kind of technologies that industries can move forward. Right. So we just wanted to give that as a high priority point to all of you. Then I come to my last slide for this webinar. So this is mainly for, so now I have given a whole lot of details about RPA. I hope it has been interesting for all of you, and it has given you a good vision on how it works in the industry. So now you might have a question. Yes, I am interested, I am inspired to get into this career, and then how do I get started? Right, so specifically with respect to UiPath, I can share some details here. So this is the UiPath Academy that you see here on the screen. The URL is also provided here, academy.uipath.com. So they have training plans available here. As you can see, you can open these trainings and then you can undergo these trainings. These are free of cost. So which means like you just need to have internet and a laptop or desktop, and you can download, and you can have the free access to the tool as well, which is the community edition, for you to practice, for you to get trained. You can try out it with different applications that you have available. So it is very much possible that you can have the foundation certification as well, free of cost from UiPath Academy. So with that, I say thank you so much for this opportunity to present RPA to all of you, and then I once again hope that it has been a useful session for all of you. Wish you all the very best, and please stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, John George, for your informative session on the topic robotic process automation. I hope and I believe that this session is going to be a very useful session for all the participants. Now, I would like to call upon Professor J. Jevin to deliver the vote of thanks. Over to Professor J. Jevin.
Thank you, Mr. John George, our resource person today, for his valuable time, for his patience, and for sharing his valuable insights about his experience and in the field of robotic process automation. Thank you, sir. I wish to thank our chairman, Dr. S. Vitas Babu, for his continuous support, and wish to thank our General Manager Development, Dr. Jaykumar sir, for his guidance. I also thank Dr. Velmurugan sir for his support. It's my pleasure to thank Mr. Krishna Kumar sir, the Director Alumni, for his arrangement in this type of alumni interaction programs. I'm glad to thank our HOD, Mrs. Brinda Madam, for her initiative in arranging this type of webinars. And last but not the least, I wish to thank all the coordinators behind this webinar and for the successful happening of this webinar on this day. And we hope to meet you soon in this type of webinars. Thank you all once again.
Thank you, Professor J. Jevin. Now, I would like to thank all the participants for their active participation. I would like to remind all the participants to subscribe to our channel FXCCE CSE. Please don't forget to click the bell button for the notification. Please stay tuned for the webinars from Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Francis Xavier Engineering College. Thank you all. Thank you very much.